Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It is Wednesday, 8 p.m. My favorite time of the week to talk college football. My name is Paul Spencer, and of course, with the original, the OG is what I like to call Bill Furman. Mr. Bill Furman from Philly Press Box. Bill, how are you doing this week?
Doing fantastic, man. I tell you what, college football didn't disappoint with the
Oh,
show we saw between USC and Colorado this week. We'll certainly get to talk a lot about that one.
Bill, I tell you what, just like you said there, exactly. This week did not let down. There was some barn burners out there. There was some defensive games, last second games. Duke Notre Dame, of course.
Yeah.
Touchdown Jesus does follow, Bill. I understand that now. But the game that you mentioned, LSU. How about we jump into that, Bill? Because I'll go USC first. USC Colorado, because I think at halftime I'm like, okay, this game's over. And then the second half, Bill, I think I had to pay admission again to get back into this game because it was well worth it, Bill.
Yeah, it really was, and USC put it all out there in the first half and just looked
Yes.
lights out.
Yes.
But hats off to Colorado for battling back. I hate games like this because I think what happens, one team gets ahead by a lot and the other team starts throwing the ball around so much, and all of a sudden you can score a lot of points really quick, and that's what happened. And then all of a sudden Colorado gets a stop.
Yeah.
USC throws an interception. Now all of a sudden, and the Sanders kid is playing lights out. Williams is playing lights out on the USC side. It turned into be a really good game with Colorado actually having a chance to tie it there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, just like you said, Caleb Williams, Shedeur Stevens, their stats, Bill, Caleb, 30 for 40, 403. 6 TDs, one pick, as you said. That was a momentum swing there for Colorado to jump back in.
Yeah.
Shedeur, 30 for 45, 371, 4 TDs, Bill.
Yeah.
Insane. And, Bill, the first half, 34-14, USC was up. Okay, as, Bill, we chatted back and forth, texting back and forth. We know USC doesn't play any defense, so this game is far from over here.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about, I got to throw this out there if I pronounce it right, Omarion Miller, 7 catches, 196 yards for Colorado.
Yes,
and
yes.
I believe he's a freshman.
I believe he is. They were saying something like that where he's an underclassman, so I believe he is a freshman or a sophomore. But man, I tell you, stats like that, Bill. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just incredible. And man, you at least on the offensive side of the ball, you talk about athletes running around the field. Holy cow, they were everywhere.
Yes. And the funny thing is, Colorado's missing their best DB too. What was his name? Travis Hunter as well.
Travis Hunter, yeah.
And I mean, they don't miss a beat though. But USC does not play any defense, Bill. I mean, that last play of the game, there was some calling for the heads of the OC for Colorado. What did you think in that aspect? The last drive of the game, shoulda, coulda, woulda. What would you have done differently?
Well, obviously they just needed to move the chains.
Right.
Take your time, move the chains. Don't be heaving things. Just keep doing what you were doing.
Exactly.
And they kind of got. It was almost like they panicked a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just keep doing what you're doing. Sanders was making throws. He was also running the ball.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. He played a smart game as well. So I don't know that I'd have been concerned about him forcing a ball down there that might have, been intercepted or anything like that. But just stay within themselves. And I think they weren't quite ready for that moment when it was all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, they were poised for the taking, Bill. It was a shootout, and I got to give Sanders credit because under pressure, Bill, he seems to shine in the late third quarter, fourth quarter when he's down. I mean, he's accurate, 30 for 45. That's not a bad day. 371, 4 TDs, 1 pick. And I tell you what, I like this kid. I was in the beginning, Bill. I'm like, he's just a Sanders kid. He's not going to be that good. But Bill, he's been pretty damn accurate the entire season going forward.
Yeah, he has. He's been good. I'll say that too. I thought there might be a little more hype than substance early on as well. But again, I don't want to get misled by the fact that it's a little easier to throw the ball when you're down 30.
Exactly. Yeah, you're based in a prevent defense here. Take what they give you, and sometimes you're under. You get it under pass there, and the yak yards are pretty damn big. Sometimes when they play a prevent defense.
Yeah, and they're not. The defense isn't lining up and blitzing you and doing some other things. They're playing a lot more conservative. almost cost USC the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
But and I don't say that to take anything away from how Sanders played, because I think he played fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to see more. I want him to see more in a tight game against a good defense and see how he plays. But he's a
Exactly.
baller. He's a
He
baller.
is. He is. I mean, they could have, should have won that game, but we know Colorado, they can score, they give up points too, but they're never out of a game, Bill. 48-41, a barn burner there. I was glued to the TV. I mean, there was like 3 or 4 games this week that I was really glued to. Of course, the Notre Dame game, we'll get into that. I want your thoughts on that one as well. But Bill, did you happen to catch that Kansas-Texas game?
I saw some of it when it was still a game, and then it got away from them. Kansas hung in there for a little bit.
Yeah. Yes.
Just ran out of horses there in the second half.
Yeah, we texted back and forth, and we said, like, uh-oh, what's going on here? This is a game. Then as soon as I sent that text, Bill, I looked up a second later, and it was, it was out of reach.
Yeah, right. And I think we'll see about Texas this week. I'm sure we'll get to this a little bit later on. The Red River Shootout is this weekend. They're going to play Oklahoma. We'll see if Texas is really for real. Hey, one other thing I don't want to let get by on that USC Colorado game. We talked a lot about Sanders. Caleb Williams, as you mentioned, 403 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Yes.
He had a heck of a game too. The defending Heisman Trophy winner didn't hurt himself in his quest for a second Heisman.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, his numbers are just insane of what he can do. And Bill, I think he really took the foot off the pedal, really, in a little bit in the second half there. He could have exploded for a lot more. And the funny thing is, he's not really using his legs. He keeps plays alive, but he's not really run downfield like we've seen last year in the first year of Lincoln Riley with Caleb Williams. But
yeah,
I
agree.
Man, I tell you. But Bill, yeah, that Texas game, it got out of hand fast. I mean, Bill, I'm looking at these stats here, and I've never seen stats like this. 700 plus yards for Texas here, and 252 yards for the Jayhawks.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a track meet. It ended up being a track meet. And, and Kansas came in as a pretty good team. They were ranked and, to the point that I thought they might, as I said, I thought they might actually have a chance to compete in that game. And they did for a little while. But even when the score was close, I want to say it was 24-14 or something like that at some point. Excuse me, the stats were lopsided.
Yeah, when you look, this is one of the games where you're a box score reader. You go to the stats here. I don't look at the score. Look at the box score. Like, oh my God, 700 plus yards at 250. Oh, I think this was the Oregon 70-point game here. Something like that. But I mean, 26 points is a big differential to overcome. But Bill, 336 yards on the ground alone for the Longhorns. And I tell you, Jonathan Brock, 218. This kid, they didn't miss a beat with, Bijan Robinson, A-Chain. They did not miss a beat. They are loaded.
316 yards rushing is a lot of yards if there's no defense on the field.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'd get tired, running down the damn field 3 times, but it was like a track meet, like you said, Bill. It really was. And Ewers really, I mean, he had a great game too, 25 for 35 for 325 too. But man, I tell you,
he was kind of hidden behind the running game.
Exactly. They didn't even need to throw the ball.
Numbers.
Yeah.
Yep. The way they ran the ball was just crazy.
Yeah, they didn't need to run the ball at all. I mean, it was just it was a second half explosion of what it was, Bill. What game do you want to talk about, Bill?
Well, how about that LSU Ole Miss? Speaking
another
of
barn
track
burner.
meet, another barn burner. And
yes.
What was the final yardage on that? 1,300 and some yards between 700 for one team, 600 for the other team.
Yes, Bill. I mean, the passing stats alone: Daniels 27 for 27 for 36, 414, 4 TDs. Jackson Dart 26, 39, 389. Bill, we're at 800 yards just passing the ball here.
And this is the SEC.
I guess I guess they don't play defense in this side of the SEC, Bill. I don't know.
Right. Man, it was wide open, score after score after score. Not your typical SEC game. And
no.
I know it doesn't break your heart that Brian Kelly ended up on the short end of that game.
Oh, not at all, not at all. I was up on my seat watching this game, Bill. And when I seen the back and forth, especially the fourth quarter, it was just. Who's going to get the first stop here? That's who I'm going to say is going to win the game. If somebody gets stopped, they'll win the game. But Daniels, he put up on a performance back and forth, and so did Jackson Dart. I knew Lincoln Riley could throw the ball. He's very innovative. He can do these things. But Bill, there was nobody stopping anybody. And I tell you, it was just a barn burner. 1,300, almost yards in this game. insane, Bill. Insane.
Yep. Yep. Fun to watch if you like that kind of football, which I mean, it is fun, but then again, we slide over, we talk Duke and Notre Dame, where it's a defensive slugfest again, that old punch them in the mouth kind of football that I like. And Notre Dame let one get away last week and got one this week in the last minute.
Bill, during the pregame show, I talked about this could be a game where I'm a little bit scared of, because Duke is coming in undefeated as well. We know Riley Leonard can throw the ball, he can run the ball, and Notre Dame has been, a little scarce in the quarterback running game there, with playing defense-wise. The front seven's good, but an all-out slugfest for Bill. Let's say last week we lost in the last minute. I think this week here was a 59-minute defensive game to the last drive. I was saying my prayers. The funny thing is, Bill, I had my little right here out last week. I tell you, it was one of those games, Bill. It really was, where now I'm a believer that touchdown Jesus actually does travel, Bill. Okay.
There you go. That's good. That's funny, actually.
But did you watch the last play, Bill, where Estime broke that?
Yeah.
There was some missed tackles on there, because it was a bounce inside and 2 missed tackles, and then there was no reason why he had all that time to bounce out during that front seven.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like you say, touchdown Jesus was traveling with them, because they, I won't say they got away with a play. They made the play, but
right.
It didn't look like it was going to be a play.
Yep. Bill, I got one more game I want to talk to you about. Well, actually, 2, if you want to talk about both of them. What is going on with Florida? I mean, they got spanked around this game, Bill.
Oh, they got pounded right from the start. I guess you are what you are. They're a 5-5 team. We're 6-6 team.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess we'll see how that plays itself out. But the old saying, "You're as good as your record says you, or you are who your record says you are," and that's what they are. I certainly expected a better game from them, and Kentucky took it to them. Now Kentucky's got to turn around and play Georgia at Georgia, so I don't know what that exactly means, but for them. But
it's insane. But I was looking at the stats, and Leary, the quarterback for Kentucky, 9 for 19, 69 yards. He didn't have to do anything this game, because the running game, 329 yards. Ray Rice, I don't know if he's, or Ray Davis, I'm sorry, 280 yards on the ground, Bill.
Yeah, and I don't get how you can give up 250 yards.
And Bill, that was in 3 quarters. That was in 3 quarters when they took him out of the game.
Yeah, it's just
insane.
And the Gators, even when they have had some down teams, they've always prided themselves on being solid on defense. They've always had good linebackers and and all that. But man, you just don't give up 280 yards rushing. You're not beating anybody.
No, especially the one damn player. You've seen his tendencies. You see how he runs. Well, if that's me, Bill, I'm running a fire blitz, safety blitz. So I'm bringing, Schoolhouse up the middle every time, because you ain't throwing the ball. You're killing me on the run here. Let's play, 12-on-7 here. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, and they knew they reached a point in that game. They knew they were going to run the ball, and they still couldn't do anything with it.
Exactly, right. I seen at one point, Bill, they had 9 guys in the box. They had, single isolation on the wide receivers. They were coming off the ball, running just a 1-yard stop, and like, how you doing? They didn't care. They were running the ball. They could not stop, even with the backup in, Bill. They couldn't stop it. But Bill, I have one more game for you real quick. I don't think we should talk about the Auburn-Georgia game, even though it was a good game, if you want to talk about that one. I got one word for that game, Brock, the tight end, Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers, yes. Oh, my God.
Yeah, he made the money play. That's for sure.
Yes, he did. I mean, that guy is insane, Bill. We texted you. You said, lottery pick next year. Definitely.
And the thing about that game is, I did watch a good bit of that. Auburn had them.
Yeah.
They had them. They wouldn't go away. They kept banging on the door, and it got down to the last drive. And you throw a 40-yard cross to your tight end, and he runs it for a touchdown. That's not supposed to happen. But
no, not at all. I mean, Auburn ran the ball pretty good, 229 yards. Georgia had 107 on the ground, and that goes a long way. I wish they would have kept with the run. This maybe a little bit more like off tackle or something, pulling the guards a little bit. Because if you can run on this Georgia front seven, continue to run that, then that builds the play action, Bill.
Absolutely.
But when your quarterback goes 11 for 20 for only 88 yards, I guess that Georgia secondary is, they're on islands themselves. They can play ball in the corners too.
Exactly.
But Bill, the last game I want to talk about really quick is how bad Utah misses Cam Rising. Beat by
Oh.
Oregon State 21-7.
Yeah. What a letdown. What
Yeah.
a letdown for Utah.
Mhm.
I mean, and we're in week what, 6?
6 here. Mhm. Yeah.
Where is Rising? Is he playing at all? Is he even going to come back?
He's not even dressed. But I was watching the game. That was one of the late games, and I was watching it. And I was like, wait, okay, he's on the sideline here. He's running around. Hey, at least give me an 80% Cam Rising here. At least give me that, because your quarterback is struggling without you.
Yeah.
This team is struggling. The defense can. They're good defense, Bill, but you give up 21 points and your offense can't put a dime on the scoreboard. You're definitely going to lose. Definitely going to lose.
Yep. Absolutely. And we saw the same thing. They happened to win but they only scored 14 points when they beat UCLA because the defense only gave up 7.
Exactly. Yep.
They're just not getting it done offensively. And
the funny thing is, Bill, I did read something about his injury. He's still lagging the injury, but they're saying he'll be back in, I think, 3 weeks. The funny thing is, it kind of made me mad in certain ways as a fan, as maybe like a booster, not a booster for them, but a fan of them. I'll be back for the USC game. What is that going to do for you now? You're out of contention now. You're done.
Yeah. Well, I think, what is the rule now? They've changed these rules a lot.
Mhm.
But if he plays less than 5 games,
it's considered a red shirt, right?
He can redshirt.
Exactly, right.
So,
right. Mm-hmm.
Now, whether he is draftable or where he's draftable,
Mhm.
whatever his injury is, maybe they're going to save him.
That's
at this point,
That's
if you're
a good
already
point.
at week 6.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you don't have, the proper game started or snap count, whatever the rule is, you can redshirt your year, of course. Because I know a couple players last year. Notre Dame did that with one of their QBs a couple years ago. And I was like, okay, he's starting a game, so I can't redshirt. Then I looked it up, as you said, and I don't remember the number exactly what it was, but I think you're right on point with that one. But I don't know.
It was 5. It was
okay.
5 games. I don't know if it's still that or not, but that's what it was just a couple of years ago.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, Bill, let's get into this top 10 here. Hey, Notre Dame is back in the top 10.
Can I ask you a question?
You sure can.
Okay. Before we move on to new stuff, we won't talk about the Penn State game because it just ended up being a blowout. But
yes,
it was a 10-10 halftime game. But I want to ask you, James Franklin taking some heat by putting his second teamers in and throwing the ball around and scoring a late touchdown. You're a ball coach. You have a problem with putting your second teamers in and running your plays and happening to score and throwing the ball? What was it, 36-10, I believe at the time, ended up 43-10. Any problem with that?
Bill, not at all. As a coach, you're always looking at next man up. What could happen on the field if you get an injury? You want that player to be in that system, running your plays, running your playbook. I coach up here, and my team right now is 5-1. We're averaging about 40, 45, points a game, giving up maybe 10 points a game. So there is that mercy rule in our league. To me, I put my second team in, the second half just to run the ball, same plays, not, maybe more of a vanilla offense, Bill, but there's no way I'm not going to let my players score. If they happen to score and your defense is not that good, that's on you. We're not playing for participation trophies, Bill. And nowadays, we all know it's style points. Style points, the more you score, the more you're looked at. Wow, this team is top to bottom, second string in, still scoring. I had no problem, Bill. What about you? What do you think?
No, I have no problem either because, in the case of a second string quarterback, he's one play from being your first string quarterback.
Very true. Very true.
And he's got to be able to go in and execute things. You don't have to put your second defense in.
Right.
If you don't want to score, leave your ones in there against my twos. Yep. That's okay. But my twos have to get work. Every one of these guys is like you said, next man up. And especially my quarterback, he needs to make his reads. He needs to do the things he's coached to do because we might need him next game. That's first play of next game.
You never know. Anything can happen. Look at Aaron Rodgers, right? Zach Wilson. We looked at that situation there. But I agree about even the second half. There's 5 people that I do leave in the game, no matter what, from top to bottom. And as my starting O-line, I keep them in there because this way it's continuity with my new quarterback, my new running backs. It's a different sound, and you want that center to hear both sounds. So I want the running backs to run behind the offensive line that they know that gets the first strings where they're going. I have no problem, Bill. I don't care if they're running up to, 80 to whatever. I don't care. If you can't stop it, that's not my issue, Bill. You need to work a little bit harder on the practice field.
I'm with you. All right. We agree.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Bill, listen, hey, I got to say one thing. Notre Dame is back in the top 10, Bill, so I am a little bit happy here. But let's go down the list here. Of course, we won't spend much time on this because I know, Bill, one of your favorite teams are playing tonight in Red October in the city of brotherly love tonight. So we'll get to that game. We'll move on fast here to get to that game so we can both watch it. But Bill, let's go down the list. Georgia, number 1. They're still there, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Michigan.
Well, they keep rolling. They haven't really played anybody yet,
Very
they keep rolling. If you put them there before, there's no reason to move them.
Exactly. They're not beaten yet, so we got to keep them there. They don't play out later on in the season with the Big Ten playing here, so we will leave them there for right now. Texas 3.
Well, I think if you look at Texas, Ohio State, and Florida State 3, 4, and 5, each of them has played a tough game.
True.
Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, and Notre Dame, Florida State on the road at Clemson. They all won those games in kind of hostile environments. You could make 5-3, 4-3, whatever. But I'm okay with 3, 4, and 5 until it sorts itself out.
My thoughts exactly. 3, 4, and 5 are flippable, but leave them the way they are. Florida State got the boost that they needed to be beating Clemson the very first week there, jumped them up. Well, you can't move them until they get beat, Bill. So 3, 4, and 5.
And they beat LSU too.
Exactly.
So really, Florida State's had 2 tough games.
Right. Very true.
One on a neutral field and one on the road.
Mm-hmm. Penn State 6. I think they're that's where they should be right now.
Yeah, they got to get better.
They do.
Yeah, I mean that's a nice slot to hold.
Mm-hmm.
You better get better, or you're not going to be staying in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks here, we're going to be talking about teams 2, 4, and 6 here. Flip flopping who's going to stay in the top 10 in 3 or 4 weeks here, Bill, because they all have to play themselves out.
Yeah, well, the one thing, and we might have talked about this last week, I don't remember, but the thing about Penn State defensively, they are getting after people.
They are. Their defense is
now,
nasty.
The Iowa offense was horrible. The Northwestern offense was not very good. I don't know if they were as horrible as Iowa, but are we seeing horrible offenses to go with a good defense, or what exactly are we seeing? Again, they're not running the ball well, and they got to do it. They're going to have to be able to run the ball.
Very true. Very true. This Big Ten, you got to win in the trenches versus some of these teams. We know Michigan's strong up front. They like to ground and pound the game, so they're going to keep it close. And you're not going to win in shootouts every week like they've been doing, but you got to win all 3 phases of the game, Bill. And exactly, the defense is playing, special teams playing, but that offense, they got to bring this around the next 3 to 4 weeks before it gets serious with Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah, and they're getting good quarterback play. That's
Ballard's
not the
good.
issue.
Yep.
He's playing good. They're just not running the ball good enough for me.
Which is surprising with the running backs they have, Bill, too.
Right, they've got really good. They've got 3 really good backs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're certainly not running the ball like we're used to seeing Penn State tailbacks run the ball.
Yeah, exactly. I think we need to get Goon out there.
Right? Absolutely.
Put a little spark out there for those boys.
That's right.
Washington, Bill. This is my dark horse right here, Bill. I love Michael Penix, number 1, but I tell you, this offense and defense, they can play ball. They can play some ball.
Yeah, and again, let's get them in some competition. Let's see how they go. They're going to play Oregon, right? They
do play Oregon.
And they have to play USC too, I believe, don't they?
Yes, they do. They play both. Those are the remaining games for them, pretty much the big ones,
Right, and USC has to play Oregon, and USC has to play Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So that 4 is certainly going to sort itself out as we go by playing and beating each other.
Mm-hmm. Now, I had a friend. He's a big, Pac-12 guy, Bill. He lives in California, where I grew up in California, out there in Palm Springs. He's a big USC fan, and he was like, we run the table. And I was like, you don't understand this, do you? He was like, what do you mean? I was like, the Big 12, the Big 10 is going to play itself out. There's 3 teams in the top 10. One of those teams will make it. 2 of them won't. Let's talk about your Pac-12. You got 3 or 4 in there right now, but one loss is going to take that Pac-12 out of there unless the strength of schedule helps out the losing team there. I was like, look at USC last year. He's like, they got in. They almost got in. I was like, by the skin of their teeth, skin of their teeth, basically, sitting where they were. But it'll play itself out. The Pac-12 and Big 10 are going to play themselves out, which, Bill, we know what USC is, but that team right there sitting at number 10, Bill, is the real team that can win out, beat USC, go this week, beat Louisville, who's top 25, number 25, beat them, 5 top 25 teams the last 5 weeks, including this week, in the USC, beat them, 1 loss to Ohio State. Bill, you got to put them in there, don't you?
Well, I think you got to see how it all scrambles out, but they certainly, if they beat USC, that's huge.
Very true.
The shame for them, and I can't even believe I'm saying this because it's Notre Dame.
Say it, Bill. Say it, Bill.
But the shame for them is they let that Ohio State game get away from them.
You had to bring that up, didn't you, Bill?
Well, I mean, it's going to haunt them.
Yes.
It's going to haunt them all season.
Yes.
Because no matter what, especially in week 14, when they're deciding who's going to championship games and bowl games, nobody's going to remember that they lost the game on the last play. They're going to remember that they lost.
Very true.
Very true. And that they should have won that game. So that's a tough one for Notre Dame. It's going to be tough for them to overcome. Now, with that said, a lot of these teams in the 9 in front of them could all lose.
True.
At some point. So
I'm hoping Cam Rising comes back for that USC game. And in a way, Bill, I hope they don't. I hope USC wins out until we get to them because I want that strength of schedule, the number-wise, ranking-wise, to play itself out. I want to play the higher team so we can beat them so the strength of schedule gets better for us. I don't want the teams to lose. Just like in the Big Ten, you want those teams continuous wins. So, you sit at 6, you beat Michigan at 2. Well, we beat 2. Or you lost to 4, but we beat 2. We're arguably in the top 6 still by the strength of schedule. Yep. But I don't know, Bill. As a Golden Domer, I see it. But anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Yeah, and I guess if I had anything really negative to say about Notre Dame at this point is they're not dominating games either. But,
very true.
But you're winning. I mean, you win. But. And, I think in this week, you kind of get a little lost in the idea that it was Duke because it wasn't a basketball game. Duke was pretty good.
They were. I mean, their defense showed me something. And the one word that I use on my podcast, Bill, was Notre Dame escaped. They escaped is what I say with them. But the thing with Duke, they played with one thing called heart. They showed me some heart on that field, Bill.
Yeah.
Really good.
And they're probably kicking themselves for letting that one get away like Notre Dame was for letting Ohio State get away.
Bill, one thing I want to ask you real quick before we move on to the schedule real quick for this week here. Did you see what Sam Hartman did after the game?
I did.
Bill, I tell you, some people get it, some people don't. And I tell you, that is a true leader on and off the field. A lot of people were like, he's an ass, he's this, he's that. I was like, listen, you don't see what's behind closed doors. No. To wait for this guy to come after the game out of the tent and go talk to this guy for about 15 minutes about football and life. Bill, that's something special. That's sportsmanship to me.
It really is. It really is. Can't say enough about that.
Exactly.
And if you wanted to teach your young kids like you coach and say, hey, you want to see how you act? Here's how you act.
Yep. Bill, I tell you, last week we won 49-13 last week in our game. And after the game here, we go down the sideline, right at the 50-yard line, take off our helmets and smack hands. I had one of my players walk by one kid and said, "You got your ass smacked." After the game, Bill, after we did that, I pulled him aside and I was like, "Guess what?" He's like, "What's up, coach?" I was like, "Guess where you're at next week?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "You're sitting the bench." He's like, "I'm a starter." I was like, "Not what you just did on that team, right? What gets right there on that walk up." He's like, "Why, coach? It's talking." I was like, No, you're a part of this team. You don't do that on and off the field. You represent this team. You represent everybody here, our 48 kids we have, and the 13 people we have on the coaching staff. You don't do that ever. You're benched next week. I don't care. Work your way back up.
There you go.
Love it. But Bill, let's get in this week. I mean, we do have some games here, of course. Now, let's talk about the game that you wanted to talk about, Bill. I know you have, a little investigation here. Number 24, Fresno State versus Wyoming, Bill.
Yeah.
Fresno State is rolling.
Fresno State's 5-0. Wyoming is 4-1. It's at Wyoming. And that game is actually, I looked it up today. It's on CBS or.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's on one of the major networks at a reasonable time that we can watch it too.
Good.
So yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how that goes, and I'll certainly be rooting for the dogs.
Exactly. That's one thing. I don't think Josh Allen's coming back for this game. So hey, go Fresno State out there. Let's go. Continue.
That's right.
Continue the Cinderella story, Bill.
Yep. And they won last week. They played Nevada, and the game was a little closer. It did, from a point spread standpoint, a little closer than it was supposed to be. So Fresno State actually only moved, I think, from 25 to 24.
Okay, one spot up. Okay,
that win. Yeah, they didn't move any.
Well,
Man,
Bill, it's so hard playing a non-power five, conference out there to move up anything. I mean,
yep.
look, you got to win for style points like crazy, and still you're not getting the gratitude where you really belong. In those conferences
Yeah,
like Mountain
and I
West.
think if you're Fresno State, you just win your games.
Very true, right? Mm-hmm.
Wherever you end up, you may not end up in the Rose Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
but if you get to go bowling anywhere and get to take your kids somewhere to play
Exactly.
in a bowl game, that's really what it's about. Is you're building this thing, and good for them.
Exactly, I agree. Just continue winning, and let the cards play out wherever they put you, where they put you.
Yep.
Because not many teams can say they go undefeated, Bill. So hey, continue.
That's right.
But Bill, let's talk about the number one team here, Georgia. Last week, a little scare here. Kentucky just came off that huge win, Bill. What do we see here? I mean, Georgia, you got to knock them off the pedestal, Bill, at home.
Yeah, and I don't think Kentucky can do it.
I don't either.
But like you just said, talking about Auburn running the ball against Georgia and Kentucky ran the ball against Florida.
Yes.
If they can put those together this week, maybe we got a ball game. But
yeah, I agree. 100%. That's exactly what I was going to say. Leary throws for under 80 yards, and they got a game out of it. They run for over 200, and Kentucky's coming off of a damn 350 game here. I'm pretty sure he's watching the film of this. Stoops is watching the film, Bill. Then he's saying, okay, this is how their front seven reacts. We can pull a guard here. We can go for the linebacker, get off the ball, get to the linebacker second level. I think Stoops is going to be looking at a lot of film this week, Bill.
Oh, I do too, and I think he's going to come out and try to exploit that Georgia running defense and come right at them and see what happens.
Are we talking a little maybe upset here, or we're not going to go that far?
No, I don't think we're going to go quite that far, but I think it's going to be a pretty good game.
I think so too. I think it's going to be a closer game than people think. I think the line was 9.5 Georgia as I last looked. So
Okay.
that's a good line there. I mean, if they can keep it close, keep the game on the ground here and contain Bowers, they might have a shot here, Bill.
Yep.
They might have a shot. All right, Bill, let's go to Maryland here. Who would have known Maryland sitting 5-0, Bill, versus Ohio State in a Big Ten matchup here at the shoe?
This one's a little intriguing to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if there's maybe an upset brewing, this one would be it. Well, being at Ohio State, you're just not used to seeing Ohio State thinking they're going to get knocked off. But hey, Maryland's 5-0, and
yeah. And I read something that, Ohio State is actually their point differential from a 12 o'clock game to a 3 o'clock game to an 8 o'clock game is really weird, Bill. I looked at this. I didn't believe this. They average 26 points on a 12 o'clock game. When they go on, they average 34. Night times, they've been averaging over 40. Something about the 12 o'clock game, Bill, is something kind of weird. Now, maybe this is something, we can't look into that and say you're playing Maryland, or you're playing this team, whatever. You're playing Cinderella teams or whatever. But Maryland does have a shot here, Bill. They do have a shot.
I think they do. I mean, they're 5-0. Got to give them their props. They're coming in undefeated.
Yep, and Harrison is questionable for this game too. I mean, it's still early on a Wednesday, but he is questionable. He didn't practice this week yet. Still nursing that little ankle injury. But hey, you know what? If it falls that way, just game plan for him. No matter what you can do, and go out and get that win. But honestly, I want Ohio State to win, Bill, because I need that strength of schedule. Okay? I do. All right,
I like the chaos. It's good if they all lose, just because it's chaos.
Oh, it is chaos. I mean, Bill, wouldn't you like to be a BCS voter?
Oh yeah, love it.
I would love to be one of the BCS voters there. I tell you, oh man, I don't know how I would look at it. My eyes are a little bit different from other people's, Bill, but I don't know. I can't wait till we get to that road in about 6 weeks, Bill, so we can start talking about that, the top four. But
there you go.
Let's go to LSU to Missouri here. The Tigers have been playing some good ball, but LSU, I don't know what they are week to week, Bill. I have no idea what I'm in for.
Yeah. I think one thing we do know is they can score a lot of points. And the other thing we know is they can give up a lot of points.
Very true.
So it's at Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
I like the rankings here. 23 and 21 is probably about right, whether, as far as being even to each other.
Right.
I think it's going to be another one of them high scoring shootouts, and
wow,
last team with the ball might win.
Wow. Yeah, we know LSU can score. Jaden Daniels can throw the ball, and plus, but I didn't even mention he had 102 yards rushing in that game
Yeah,
as well
yeah.
last week. Almost 400 throwing, 414 and 102 rushing. So just alone, one man, 500 yards. We know they can score, but Bill, he does make some bonehead decisions too in a close game.
Oh, he
We've seen
does.
that too. So,
Yeah.
and plus, Brian Kelly, he's not the genius coach out there. He's going to let a game slip once in a while too. And this is not one of the games you want to because Missouri's D has been playing pretty damn well too.
They have,
Mhm.
and that's why I think there's a chance that this could be a pretty good game.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure that they can stop LSU.
I don't think so either. This is so high powered. I mean, their wide receivers. You're looking at like a Justin Jefferson again. People like that. They're just so big. They're possession receivers. Bill, speed too, all around.
Yep.
Mhm. Well, Bill, let's talk about number 11 here. They moved out. They flip flop with Notre Dame this week, even though they won. Alabama is, Texas A&M here, the 12th man. Does the 12th man ride the Aggies here? What are we looking at here, Bill?
Texas A&M is a bit of a mystery to me.
Yes.
Jimbo has not got it done there.
Mhm.
Top recruiting classes every year. The guy did a good job at Florida State until he let the program get away from him.
Mhm.
But they're unranked. They got beat at Miami earlier. But Jimbo always plays good against Nick and Alabama. And the fact that it's at A&M might be a little boost.
Mhm.
And Alabama's got some problems.
They do. They are the identity of unknown still, Bill. We know what Alabama is, solid defense, but they've been giving up some points, to some teams out there that we couldn't believe they did. The offense, I don't think there's an identity right now. I don't think Tommy Reese knows what he wants to do with this team yet.
Well,
we're week 6.
They don't have the quarterback situation figured out.
Yeah, we don't know who's playing. Milroy, Buckner, or the young kid Simpson. We don't even know who the hell's starting until Saturday morning when they're playing, Bill.
Yeah, and Milroy played the last week and didn't play all that great.
Exactly right. Yeah, I mean they don't know his identity yet, but with Alabama, Bill, I don't know what they are. So I think this could be a game. This is a coin toss game for me because, and the other thing, Bill, I read an article where Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino are going head to head here because they don't know what a lot of the players were saying. It's when we go to meetings, it's this one way for Petrino, this way for Fisher. We don't know what the hell this team is right now. Is that a problem having two named coaches on one staff?
Well, it is if they don't want to work together.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You would think in today's day and age, if the lower ranked one wasn't doing what he was supposed to, they'd send him down the road pretty quick. You wouldn't wait till the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're sitting there undefeated to begin with. So you could send him down the road without anybody saying too much about it. But
I agree.
Jimbo's all I didn't like Jimbo when he was at Florida State.
Okay.
I didn't like the way he was running the program, and eventually with Jameis Winston, they won a lot of games, and he ran the program into the ground.
Sure.
And then he held them hostage every chance he got at Florida State to get more and more money.
Mm-hmm.
Then he ends up bailing out anyway. But he just is underachieved at Texas A&M since he's been there, and not on the recruiting trail. But
yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, when the recruiting came out there when he went there, I'm looking like, okay, Alabama's 1, Ohio State's 2, Georgia. Well, Texas A&M was first in 1 year, and then third the next year. I'm like, he's got the athletes, he's got the 5-star recruits.
Right.
Texas A&M is going to turn this around. Give him 1 year once he gets the system in there, because you're still, when you come in, you still have the juniors and seniors, upperclassmen. That's not yours, not your players. Give him a year. But Bill, he hasn't lived up to this potential at all. He really hasn't.
At all. Talent-wise,
right.
Based on his recruiting, we know he's probably got as much talent as Alabama has. But
yeah, exactly. He has a 5-star athlete. Yeah, I mean, 1 and 3 the last 2 years in your recruiting class. You've got the players now. The word is coaching and execution. But that falls on your coach right now. We don't know where you are. But Bill, let's talk about number 10 here, which I'm very happy. Notre Dame is back in the top 10 here, escaping last week. Against Louisville. Louisville's number 25, undefeated as well. This is one of those games where, Bill, I think okay, it should be a domination game here by Notre Dame. But, Bill, we learned not to say that in this year's college football rankings at all.
Yeah. I really, what I want to see from Notre Dame in this game is I want to see 35-10.
Yes, a statement.
I want to see them take care of business here and see if they could do it. See if they can put that many points on the board. I think we know they can play defense. We've seen that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I don't know that we've seen them play enough big boy offense for them to be the 10th team or the 5th team or something like that. I want to see a breakout game from them.
I agree 100%. That's what I said on my post-game show. Viewers were in there, a win is a win. I was like, well, I always look at the light at the end of the tunnel here, going down forward. You can put up 40 to 50 points on a Navy, a Middle Tennessee State, teams like that. But when you play at Ohio State and even Duke, Duke was highly saying that this shouldn't have been a game. They held this to us for 59 minutes, Bill. You can score on these, these sisters of the poor teams. But when you play an arguably a top 25 team, just like you said, this offense has to come out. Give me a 35-point game. Defense, we know what you do. Hold them to 10. Give me that statement game where, wow, Notre Dame can actually score when they have to score or can score throughout the game, 3 phases of the game.
Right. I'm with you 100%.
I agree.
Score in bundles. So see, this would be a good opportunity to do it because it's not a Navy.
Exactly.
It's a team that's decent and get after them if you are that good.
Because Bill, with the BCS, they're going to look at these games saying, well, they put up 50 on Middle Tennessee State. Well, they put up 50 on Navy here. They beat this team, 42-3. Wow, well, Duke took them to the limit here. They needed that last-second drive to beat Duke. Louisville, same way if that happens. You don't think they're going to look at this? Oh, you're definitely right. They're going to look at these games, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
But, Bill, let's talk about it. Here it is, the game. Game of the week in my eyes. Oklahoma 12, Texas 3. The rivalry is back, Bill.
Yeah, I think I told you when we were talking on a few weeks back. This is the top of my bucket list, the Red River shootout. I have not been able to go to this yet, but I really want to go, and I think this is going to be a good one. And you want to talk about offense? There's going to be offense.
Bill, I tell you, Dylan Gabriel, their quarterback from Oklahoma. He can throw the ball, Bill, and this is one of those games where we talk about offense, but hell, who knows what a defense game? But Oklahoma doesn't play defense, Bill.
No, but they play good enough offense that Texas might not play defense either.
Yes,
in this game. So, yeah, I would say it's a 30-something to 30-something game here.
I agree.
And neutral field, and it's the big one. So
I agree. I think this is going to be a shootout, one of the old-fashioned, Red Rivals situations here, where it could be a barn burner. I'm going to go at least 30 points for each team here. I think Texas does pull it out because, Bill, if you want to slow the game down, that Texas running game can slow this game down in a second. And I think if it gets close, I think that's what they're going to do. To run the ball, keep time of possession here to keep Oklahoma off the board if it is a shootout. So I give the advantage to Texas, the running game with Texas.
Yeah, and Oklahoma can run the ball too. So
true.
That makes it even better to me because there's going to be athletes all over the field, weapons everywhere, both teams. Mm-hmm. And we know they're not going to play much defense. So
no, not at all.
Last guy with the ball might win again.
Exactly. This could be the chess match. Who's the better coach here? Bill, the way we think about okay, well, field management, I got 2 timeouts here. If I can get this, I can do that. Time management goes a long way. My running game goes a long way. I think it's a chess match, honestly. I really do.
Yeah, and as old, if somebody drops the ball on the floor a few times, that's big trouble.
Now, Bill, before we get out here, I know we got the Phillies game. We're going to jump over there real quick. Out of these games here, our top games of the week, Bill, if you had to pick one upset of the week on these games, where are you going to go?
If I was going to pick an upset to win the game, I would say Maryland over Ohio.
What was that? I'm sorry, Maryland?
Maryland over Ohio State.
Okay. I'm going to go
my reach game of the week.
Oh, Bill, oh man, this is kind of crazy for me. I'm going to go Texas A&M here at home. I think
that would be my second.
Yeah, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there because at home, just like you said, Jimbo plays this team very tough, tough. And what better way to beat a Nick Saban, the almighty god of the SEC here. And even though your record sucks, but go out and beat him and. You know what? At least you beat Nick Saban this year, so I think this is circled on his list today, Bill. So I'm going to go.
Yeah, and it's a jump start for Texas A&M if they can pull off a win against Alabama.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, Bill, once again, the show's over here. Bill, once again, tell everybody where they can find you.
Philly Press Box Radio, Edge of Philly Sports Network, 7 o'clock on Wednesdays. We just finished before we started this one, 7 to 8. Had great guests tonight. Kevin Stocker, former Phillies infielder and now radio voice, was with us today. And Mike Conroy, who is involved in the Darren Dalton Foundation and also the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, was with us too. So great guest tonight. And as always, it's a lot of fun.
It was. Bill, real quick before we get out of here, I did watch the show. I was walking the dog as I was texting you earlier. What are you nominated to vote for now, Bill?
The Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in its 20th year. Gotcha. We ended up getting to know Mike and Chet. Actually, my partner went to the event. Gotcha. And got talking to them, and we had them on the show, and they listened to our show, and they figured out we knew a little bit about what we were talking about. So they asked us to become official voters.
Wow!
So we got to vote for this class of 2023. So that was a lot of fun when that showed up.
Well, congratulations, Bill. It's an honor to know somebody that can vote for the pride of the city of Philadelphia. And next step, Bill, is the BCS. We can get you nominated for that.
There you go. I'm available.
There we go. Right. And Bill, speaking of Philadelphia, your Philadelphia Phillies are up 1-0 right now from a double from Schwarber.
There you go. We'll take that.
Definitely. So, guys, we're going to get out of here. We'll be back next week to recap this week here and see if our upsets predicted and who we thought would win and how they won and what went down. My name is Paul Spencer. Of course, that is the legend, Bill Furman, and we'll be back next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Until then, thank you very much, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.